the leader of the National People's Power, the members of the EXCO of the National People's Power NPP, my colleagues, the legal fraternity, and fellow citizens. A plea for the rule of law and fundamental rights. The rule of law, once a symbol of fairness, justice, and equality, is now in imperilment. Besieged by the looming specters of authoritarian dominance, the tyranny of the powerful, and the disorder that prevails when laws are ignored or selectively enforced. Our forefathers fought valiantly for the freedom we enjoy today. They envisioned a nation where everyone, regardless of race or religion, would be treated with dignity and respect. The law applied impartially and justice prevailed. But today, we witness a disturbing erosion of these fundamental principles. Today, the rule of law is not just under threat, it's been disregarded and discarded. We are witnessing the erosion of democratic institutions and attempts to weaken the judiciary. When judicial decisions passed down are distasteful, some call it judicial cannibalism. They claim that it stifles progress, hinders innovation, and prevents them from adapting to the challenges of the 21st century. But such arguments are short-sighted, imprudent, and dangerous. The rule of law is not a hindrance to progress. It is its foundation. It is a bedrock upon which our society is built, creating a stable and predictable environment where businesses can thrive, investments flourish, and citizens can live without fear. As legal professionals, you are the guardians of the rule of law and fundamental rights. You have the power to effect change. Your commitment to justice and equality is what our society needs. It is the responsibility that only you can shoulder, and your actions can make a significant difference. A leader who respects the rule of law is accountable to the people and must operate within the law. This promotes transparency and prevents corruption. An advice to leader to uphold the rule of law. Leader must lead by example, demonstrate personal integrity, adhere to the law. Any deviation from the law undermines their credibility and erodes public trust. Leaders should be transparent in their actions and decision-making processes. This includes disclosing their financial interests and avoiding conflict of interest. Leaders should be held accountable for their actions, including any violations of law. This can be achieved through independent audits, oversight bodies, and legal processes. Leaders must strengthen the judiciary. The judiciary must be independent from executive and legislative branches of government. This ensures that judges can make impartial decisions without political interference. Investment in law enforcement. Train the law enforcement officers, especially the police, to uphold the highest standards of professionalism and ethics. This includes avoiding corruption and respecting human rights. Hold law enforcement officers accountable for any abuse of power or violations of the law. This can be achieved through internal disciplinary inquiry procedures and independent oversight bodies. Ensure that government institutions are transparent and accountable to the public. This includes providing access to information and promoting open government practices. Implement measures to prevent corruption, such as strengthening anti-corruption laws and establishing independent and anti-corruption agencies. The annals of history are replete with tragic tales of nations that have descended into anarchy. Their once vibrant societies shattered by the erosion of fundamental human rights. These are not isolated incidents, but a stark reminder the consequences when the foundation of human dignity is compromised. When governments fail to protect the rights of the citizens, trust in institutions break down. This erosion of trust can have far-reaching consequences, undermine the legitimacy of governments, hindering economic development and festering a climate of fear and uncertainty. Without trust, it becomes impossible to build a cohesive and prosperous society. Violation of fundamental rights is a dangerous path that can lead to devastating consequences. It is our collective responsibility to ensure that the tragedies of the past are not repeated, establish mechanisms to address the historical injustices and divisions that have plagued our nation, promote open and inclusive dialogue among different groups within our society to foster understanding and reconciliation. The French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, and Arab Springs are just a few examples of historical events where the violation of human rights played a pivotal role of triggering widespread social upheaval. In each of these cases, the people's frustration and oppressive regimes and the denial of their fundamental rights led to violent protests, mass uprisings, and ultimately the collapse of existing governments. A nation stability is a delicate balance. Upset and fundamental rights of all citizens. A nation's stability is a delicate balance, easily upset when the fundamental rights of citizens are violated. When individuals are denied the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, a sense of injustice and resentment can fester. This discontent can lead to social unrest, political instability, and ultimately a breakdown of law and order, as we witnessed on 9th of May 2022. Preventing such a descent into anarchy requires a proactive approach by government. Government must take responsibility for their actions or inactions during disorder, such as the Aragale period. Suppose the government has failed to address underlying grievances or enacted policies that have led to social unrest, the government must be held accountable, demonstrating a complete breakdown of the rule of law. Our economy, once a beacon of prosperity, has plunged into darkness. The fruits of our labor, the dreams of our youth, has been shattered by the greed and indifference of those entrusted with our well-being. Our once held sacred, the sanctity of our laws has been trampled underfoot, replaced by a culture of impunity and corruption. I implore the future leader of this nation to you today with a deep sense of concern and a plea for urgent action to address the pervasive issue of impunity within our nation. As citizens, we deserve a society where the rule of law is upheld, justice is impartial, and no one is above the law. I urge you to take decisive steps to address this grave issue, which may include strengthening the judicial systems, ensure that courts and the Attorney General's Department are independent, impartial, and equipped with the resources necessary to prosecute cases effectively. Introduce measures to prevent corruption, improve transparency, and hold public officials accountable for their actions. Educate the public about their rights and responsibility, and encourage them to report wrongdoings without fear of retaliation. You can message my leader that our nation will never tolerate impunity. Our streets, once haven for our children, have become battlegrounds where violence and fear reign supreme. We have witnessed daylight shootings and murders. We have witnessed children being abused. We have watched the doctors and engineers and learned seek refuge in countries where democratic principles are upheld, individual freedoms are protected, and the rule of law is respected. නීතියේ අධිපත්‍යයට ගරු නොකොට එය නොරැක දියුණු ආර්ථිකයක් ස්ථාවර රටක් ඇති බව හෝ ඇති විය හැකි බව කවරෙක් කියන්නේ නම් එය අපට පිළිගත නොහැක. Today, some claim that the country has economic growth and social stability. No, a country cannot have a developed economy and long-term stability without respecting the rule of law. Who would invest in a country that has no rule of law? Businesses and investors invest in countries with predictable and transparent legal systems. Without this confidence, economic growth is hindered. Daily Mirror reported on 27th August that the President has called for the armed forces to maintain public order nationwide. This reinforces the inadequacy of the police in handling the country's security and upholding the rule of law. Sadly, we have become a poor and indebted nation with a police force unable to uphold the rule of law. We shall support a leader we trust to uphold the rule of law and protect fundamental rights as if carved in stone. Leader who shall restore the country from the depths of despair to the heights of glory. A leader who shall make Sri Lanka a great nation, the pearl of the Indian Ocean. We must rise not in anger or violence, but in unity and resolve. Posat ratak, lassana jeevitayak. The dreams of a rich The dream of a rich and beautiful nation is within our reach. It requires a commitment to excellence, a dedication to social justice, and a belief in the power of human potential. Let us work together to build a nation that is a source of pride for all its citizens. We must recommit ourselves to the rule of law and build a nation united by justice. Thank you.